by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
I thought defensively we were great, and then offensively, we were getting easy buckets just off our defense, but then our execution was very good down the stretch right before half. I was very pleased with the effort that we...
Gold is open again. He'll try another three. Good again! Ben Gold has hit 2 threes, and Marquette's lead is 15 with 9:48 left.
I thought more carefully great. They were so quick, guards that can drive into post-up positions, and obviously their center and the fans can use some large odds, and we got behind and can't jump the whole game.
It was all about Washington. It wasn't like Florida State did anything wrong. A really good win by Washington against an Oregon State team that's averaging 36 points a game. They scored 20. They've delivered week over week. They're 11-0 with some really good wins. Therefore, they moved to number 4.
The issue is a microcosm of a larger issue, the absence of Eric Bieniemy. Everything you've heard about Eric Bieniemy as a coach, he is hard on his players, no matter if you are a future Hall of Famer or you are an undrafted free agent. There's a standard that he demands.
Jared Goff playing in the cold has never been his thing. Going into that Week 18 matchup last year at Lambeau Field, had played 10 games in temperatures below 40 degrees, thrown 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, produced a quarterback rating in the 30s.
Obviously, they're good. It's the last 2 teams in 2A. We're going to have to execute, be able to make plays with and without the ball, and our dudes just have to be better than their dudes.
And welcome on in to 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. It's Sports Day, back for the Wednesday edition right before Thanksgiving. Excited to be with you guys for another exciting episode. Aaron Clark. Fellas, it's my last day in the host chair this week. Glad we could come on today for another episode of the show with Mike Corson and Mike Hesher. Been holding it down across from me all week. How we doing today, fellas?
Last one before Thanksgiving. Let's
You've got to be famished at this point.
It's a 3-hour show, or still keeping it an hour?
I mean, we do kind of have the station to ourselves. We could explore the space and see how long we can go with it, but of course, you got to be famished by now. You haven't been eating all week, saving up room.
24 more hours.
You're getting so bad, you're popping a rib out over there. It's crazy.
I'm sure the onions I had in the studio probably didn't help you either.
Like Pavlonian over here, salivating everywhere.
Onions and ketchup. And on the show today, Hoisington football head coach Zach Baird gives us the lowdown on the Cardinals as they prepare for the 2A championship on Saturday in Salina. And then Gerard Wellbrock, what a guy. Going to come onto the show, talk to a former Hornet about Fort Hays State basketball, as Gerard Wellbrock will join us, give us everything we need to know about Fort Hays State basketball before Thanksgiving. And then, fellas, to wrap it up, it's just going to be some nice quality boy time as we'll break down everything about Turkey Day football. A little bit of some Barry Sanders, a little bit on the updates on the matchups this year. But regardless, it's going to be an exciting show. Can't get it started, though, until we go through our sounds of the past 24 hours and sports headlines. But first, would like to remind everyone that Sports Day is brought to you in part by Barton Community College. Train for a new career at Barton in areas like carpentry, network security, or pharmacy tech. Learn more at gobarton.com. As we'll dive headfirst into our sounds of the past 24 hours. Getting us started, you heard from head coach of the Barton Cougars men's team, Jeremy Combs. Combs liked what he saw from his squad on the road as the Barton men were able to get a 96-75 victory. We'll cover the girls' games in the headlines later, but for now, focusing on the Cougar men. It was an impressive go for the boys as they got out the first 6 opening points of that game, never trailing against Pratt. Emotions did start running a little high there late in the game. However, Barton was still able to coast 96-75, a 21-point victory at the Beaver Dome. I had heard a little bit about that dome in Pratt. I had never had the luxury, the opportunity to get to travel to the Beaver Dome, but it's pretty impressive. I won't lie. I walked in the main door and walked into the dome area, and it's pretty awe-inspiring, especially they got the banners hung up. It's a neat atmosphere for sure.
Been years since I've been down there, and it might have even been for high school, but once upon a time, kind of the Pratt-Barton rivalry was, or at least Pratt was just angry all the time, so there were some interesting games, but that's what I remember about the dome is you might turn into an octagon.
And I won't lie, the Pratt crowd was definitely raucous. The student section was going, the cheerleaders, They were getting into the game a couple plays. You could see them getting out, yelling at the players, both on Pratt and on Barton. But a competitive environment where Barton able to improve to 8-0 on the year, now 2-0 in conference play. They'll be next up heading to Cloud County on Saturday along with the Barton women.
Okay, you can't go on without describing Mose's half-court, three-quarter court bounce pass.
You're absolutely right. It'd be an injustice. So Mose Downing Rivers at one point, they get a long rebound. He has it on the left side of the wing right above the break. He throws a bounce pass, and it's a sidearm sling of a pass in the left hand. Throws it across half court, bounces at the opposite free throw line, hits LeJay Jones in stride on the right block. He goes up with two hands, flushes it away with a slam dunk. It was a three-quarter court bounce pass, perfectly on the money, hitting post player in stride. He was able to gather and just go up two hands and slam it through. Ridiculous play for Mose Downing Rivers.
No, I know you didn't always get to cover area basketball the last few years. I've seen a few of those over in Central Plains. Didn't result in any jams, but Lady Oilers could also make some three-quarter.
Maybe
passes.
Emily Ryan. Is that what you're going with?
I didn't want to single anyone out. There was Reagan Phelan could do it too.
I did not have the opportunity to cover those Oilers teams, but it was an impressive win for the Barton men. They'll be moving on against Cloud County on Saturday. I get the call again, fellas. It's going to be a good week. I get to host some sports day, get to do some Barton games.
Some windshield time up to Concordia.
Exactly. I know exactly where Concordia is. Don't worry about it.
Stop at Popeyes on the way out.
Well, you did hear that Deion Sanders does not know where Mount Rushmore is at, don't you? So I don't think you should feel so bad.
I'm just saying, if Coach Prime, he doesn't know where stuff is. He doesn't know where Mount Rushmore is. That's a little worse than not knowing where maybe something like Kingsley is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you should. I don't. Who knows? Who knows what's more important to know?
He doesn't know where it is because he's on it.
Looking
out like, where am I?
That's a good one. That was a you got it tuned up. He's ready for Thanksgiving dinner, man. He's got the zingers going. Moving on in our sounds of the past 24 hours. It was a rocky day, too, at the Maui Invitational for KU as Marquette able to defeat the Jayhawks 73-59. You heard the play-by-play on the call on Learfield as a fitting name, Ben Gold for Marquette. He's hit a couple of three-pointers in that game for the Golden Eagles. Works out as KU becomes the third #1 AP team to lose at the Maui Invitational. It's a dangerous place to go if you're a 1 seed, but you do play quality opponents. Marquette was the 4th-ranked team in the nation going into that game. Not like they don't have talented players. You heard Bill Self talking about their center. He was balling last night. Tough break for the Jayhawks, but still a long season. They're going to be looking to bounce back, get ready to play Tennessee, another highly ranked team, as they're #7 currently. They'll tip off this afternoon at 1:30.
That is one benefit over the basketball versus football. It used to be, it seemed like Maui was the start of the tough season. Now they open the game. They got that little quad in there, usually Michigan State, Kentucky, Duke.
A championships classic.
And so, yeah, you can still play, 5, 6 good teams, lose 2 or 3 of them, and it doesn't even matter come tournament time.
Right. It's just, especially in college basketball with the March Madness, it's fun to watch the games now and get an idea of what teams have, and especially see how they test their mettle against quality top-tier teams. But come March, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's an exciting time for a reason.
Football side, it would be nonsensical to schedule 3 top 10 teams in the first 3 weeks because losing one of those games could be your season, so it just doesn't happen in football.
Moving on, we had the college football selection chair, Boo Corrigan, talking about them Washington Huskies. They move up to the 4 spot. He was adamant it was not anything that Florida State had done. It was all about what Washington was able to do. They got that win over Oregon State. What was ranked #11, now a 15th ranked Beaver squad. Not the prettiest win for Washington, however, did get it done. Corson, I saw after the Barton games, I saw that Washington had supplanted Florida State, and I was giddy to get to talk to you and get your Huskies take today.
Well, are my Ducks #5 then?
No, they are not, because I believe
Florida State just kind of switched.
Florida State just flip-flopped.
So, of course, you can't trust the committee. They're going to say whatever PR suits them. I think a lot of the times once you're in the top four, you're in the top four until you lose. But we did see this year with Georgia had a better win than somebody, so they surpassed them
We've
in the
seen
number one spot.
some movement in winning teams.
So it does happen. It's highly suspect that Florida State loses their guy, but behind closed doors, they're hoping Florida State loses one of these last 2 games, and
it would make it
discussion.
much easier for the selection committee for sure. And I think it's a really tough spot for him because I think there was probably a lot of debate about who should be in that 4th spot in the prior weeks between Florida State and Washington. But I just think it was back and forth. And now, even if Jordan Travis was healthy, maybe they do think that victory over Oregon State does propel them forward. Who knows? But especially you lose your starting quarterback this late in the season with a tough injury. It's going to be hard to keep that 4th spot. Like you said, hard to think the selection committee wasn't at least looking a little bit.
But they're going to be in the same boat. Michigan, Ohio State, one team will lose. So if Florida State's picked to win, so you're going to have those undefeateds against a one-loss team. Do you let Florida State in over one of the other schools? Frankly, I'd rather see Florida State than one of the Big Ten schools. But
that
be an interesting decision.
Kind of leads me into a clip I have from Heather Dinich. She's talking about how even though Texas is sitting at 7 in the polls, might not have as easy of a path as the 8 team Texas.
Texas is looking up at every other Power 5 conference. But while they have an edge against the Tide, it would help them if Alabama did win the SEC because then they have a win against the SEC champ.
So Alabama's currently sitting at 8, Texas at 7, even though that would maybe make you think Texas is closer, especially with the head-to-head win over the Crimson Tide. Bama probably likely looking like they're going to have a shot at Georgia in the SEC championship. And I know there's been a lot of hype about Missouri and Ole Miss the past 2 weeks trying to give Georgia a big, tough matchup, and they've kind of fallen flat. Alabama, down the stretch, they've been looking very good. Jalen Milroe has looked incredibly improved over the course of the season, maybe the most improved player in college football this year for the Crimson Tide quarterback. And I'd be excited to see what happens in that game if Alabama does beat Georgia, because Georgia back-to-back championships be tough if they don't get a chance to repeat or defend their title. I mean,
it's also nonsensical. As sports people, you always value head-to-head, and even Oregon, they're saying Oregon's better than Washington. Well, what if everybody ends up with one loss? They're saying Oregon's better than Washington. Beat them head-to-head. Texas beat Alabama head-to-head. Maybe Alabama, Georgia would be different, but it's not an easy solution, and that's why we think going 12 will at least flesh it out a little bit more. But I'm glad I don't make the decisions. It would just be nice to see Georgia's and Alabama's doing something else come January.
Maybe get them just into one of the premier bowls rather than a college football playoff.
Please.
But moving it along, you heard from, I don't know if it was ESPN's insider Andrew Hawkins or KVGB's Mike Hesher, but talking about how Eric Bieniemy's presence may be missed in Kansas City. We've seen some drop issues a couple of times rear their ugly heads this season in those Chiefs losses. And in that clip, Hawkins said he doesn't necessarily think Bieniemy would fix everything, but everything you've heard about the former Chiefs offensive coordinator does lead you to believe he demands a high standard. He's tough on players. He's tough on players with hard love, but then also quick to praise when you do perform the way he knows they're capable of. I don't know. I think there's some real credence to the thought that offense is maybe missing the offensive coordinator who had been there for so many years.
So you've played competitive sports at a high level. When you made a mistake, did someone screaming in your face, especially something as finite as squeezing a football that's coming at you at a fast pace? I think it's kind of nuts to think that he could make the guys catch the ball. When you look at the last drop, the last 2 drops the other night, it was wet. The one was a diving catch. Mahomes did the pro answer and says he had enough space to throw it shorter. He's talking like half a centimeter because it was in the middle of his hands. But he was also
it was a diving catch though.
Running at pace.
So
yeah.
I thought it was incredible answer from Mahomes. Very great way to take pressure off of your receiver. But I did see people acting like he's just taking all the blame for his. It's like if your receiver's making a diving catch, it's not inaccurate to say that you could have thrown it a little shorter. That's just he's a great quarterback still. It was a great throw. Should have been caught by all means. His receiver playing in the hands. Marquez Valdes-Scantling should have caught it. But, I mean, he could have thrown it a little shorter. It's true.
The lesser talked about one is the one after that when the game ended, basically, that went between his hands. To me, that was an easier catch. Granted, it wasn't a scoring play, but he gets off the hook a little bit because the other play was a scoring play.
And then rounding it out, you got to hear from ESPN's Joe Fortenbaugh talking about how Jared Goff, he's struggled in cold weather, and he's kind of worried about this Thanksgiving game against the Packers and potentially later in the playoffs for the Lions. Lions looking to make it for the first time since 2016. That will start tomorrow as they'll take on the Packers. They will start our Thanksgiving football, but we'll go ahead and save that little bit for the end of the show as we'll get ready to send into our first break. Coming up, we'll have head coach of the Hoisington Cardinals, Zach Baird. He'll be talking about his team before the 2A state championship. Stick around on Sports Day. We got one more thing.
Well, you forgot that we threw in a Tony Moore clip. We'll have a feature ahead of Saturday's state final game on Great Bend Post Friday. So that was a preview of needs his dudes to come out and be better than the other teams.
Yeah, I knew I was missing one of my papers, and I couldn't figure out which one it was. Thank you. You did hear from Tony Moore, and I think he's right. Their dudes just got to be better than the other dudes. That's basically what football comes down to every time.
On paper, it's hard to give a side an edge, so it really is going to come out maybe to who comes out and plays better this Saturday versus maybe what their resumes are.
Head out, support the Hoisington Cardinals at Salina Central's District Stadium on Saturday for the 2A state championship. Coming up, we'll hear from Zach Baird talking to us about what the Cardinals will do in that championship game, only on 1590 KVGB 95.5 FM. It's Sports Day.
Time to stop in Dawson Jewelers Designs by Dana to become an instant finalist for the Shop at Home for the Holidays $10,000 shopping spree. It's also time to start shopping for Christmas. The store is fully stocked with an outstanding selection of diamonds, bridal sets, pendants, earrings, bracelets, watches, and more. And Dawson's will have special pricings throughout the Christmas season. You want the best selection? Shop early. And to ensure on-time delivery, get those custom orders in now. See their new arrivals on Facebook and Instagram. The best prices, free gift wrapping, layaway, and financing. You can find all that at Dawson Jewelers Designs by Dana, your Christmas destination. Stop in before 5 o'clock and get yourself qualified to become our next instant finalist in the Shop at Home for the Holidays $10,000 shopping spree, presented by Bauer Computers and Mater Plumbing, Heating and Air, your Bryant dealer, whatever it takes. Dawson Jewelers, the place to be at Lakin and Main in Great Bend. The only place to become an instant finalist with the Shop at Home for the Holidays $10,000 shopping spree today.
Get started with a career in healthcare through Barton Community College's Pharmacy Technician program. Gain the skills you need to assist pharmacists with the day-to-day demands of a pharmacy. Classes are 100% online and include real-world experiences at a pharmacy near you. Join this essential field in as little as 2 semesters with the flexibility of online classes. Now enrolling. Learn more at pharmtech.bartonccc.edu.
Marmy Auto Group makes it happen. Central and Western Kansas. Check out our selection of new and pre-owned inventory. Marmy's friendly staff offers top quality service that you've gotten to know over the years. When your existing vehicle needs parts or service, our experienced team will get you back in the game this season. Marmy Chevrolet, GMC, Ford and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep Ram, parts, service, and body shop. Visit Marmy Auto Group on 10th Street or marmys.net. Marmys, make it happen.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Amy Herrera, Regional Retail Manager for your local Equity Bank. As someone who lives here, I know many of you and I know what's important to you. I've been in the industry a long time and I've helped many people navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people. I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you how we're committed to serving you in our communities. At Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
Hey everyone, this is Cole Wright, voice of the Barton Cougars. Attending sporting events for Barton Community College is great, but did you know you can support the athletic teams even further by getting involved with the Cougar Booster Club? The Boosters help with fundraising for equipment and facility upgrades to give Barton athletes every opportunity to keep succeeding at the regional and national levels. Join the Cougar Booster Club as an individual or business. Call 620-792-9377. Become a booster today. Go Cougars.
Extend the life of your your equipment with the best warranty program and risk management tool in the agriculture industry. The Cenex Total Protection Plan covers new and used equipment. Receive up to 10 years or 10,000 hours of engine coverage when you use Cenex Ruby Fieldmaster premium diesel fuel and synthetic lubricants. With no deductible, the Cenex Total Protection Plan provides unmatched coverage to give you the power you need to keep your business running like a well-oiled machine.
Contact American Plains Co-op Fuel Department in Great Bend, your certified Cenex distributor, today.
Welcome back into 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM for Sports Day, a Wednesday edition. Exciting day for sports. I'd like to remind everyone that Sports Day today is brought to you by Advanced Therapy and Sports Medicine. Get your life back, as well as by Equity Bank. We're right here beside you, equitybank.com. Aaron Clark filling in for Steve Webster on the show today, and I'm joined by head coach of the Hoisington Cardinals, Zach Baird. Coach Baird, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Excited to get to talk to you about your upcoming matchup in the 2A state championship against Nemaha Central. However, want to talk briefly about some players we have on the roster this year for Hoisington. Haven't had a chance to do a deep dive on some of these players with you this year, so I figure end of the season, take a look at some of the players who maybe make the Cardinals hum a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
I want to start with the senior class, a very healthy crop of players in that senior leadership group. Starting off with number 4, Mason Alderdice, a kid electric with a ball in the hand. Pretty sure something like a third of the time he touches the ball, he scores the touchdown. At least late in the season, he had like a 36 touches, 12 touchdown ratio there. Tell me a little bit about Alderdice and what makes him special.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes Mace so special is, anytime you give it to him, he's got a chance to score it, so we try to find ways to mix it up and give it to him out of different looks. And the big thing is just try to create touches in space. And, he's so tough to bring down in space that he just puts a lot of stress on the defense. So whether we're handing it to him, whether we're throwing it to him, does a great job for us. And not the biggest guy in the world, but I think in the postseason, he's shown you that he can still pick up some tough yards. He's had a goal line score against Southeast. Had a run against Southeast off the bat where picked up a lot of yards after contact. So he's just been really good for us all year.
And a really quick, explosive player, but also some top-end speed. He's a very fun to watch, moving it right along, keeping it rolling. Number 8, Ian Smith. I've had the opportunity to talk to him on Sports Day a couple of times. Seems like a kind of lunch pail guy, a great culture builder for your team. What does Ian bring to the Cardinals?
Yeah, Ian's our guy, man. He's kind of the heartbeat of our team, and he's kind of our bar setter. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a guy who's as cut in, locked in as what Ian Smith is all day, every day. So for us, I can't tell you how important Ian is to us and what he means to us. So, offensively, doesn't get a ton of touches all the time, but like we always tell our guys, dudes make plays without having the ball, and Ian's that guy. So he's been huge for us all year. Both offensively and defensively, and I can't say enough good things about Ian Smith.
And so now, a player that a lot of our fans are going to be familiar with, Tony Moore, your senior quarterback. We knew he was a rusher lead coming into this year, but this season he's really put the passing, that arm talent on display. Talk to me a little bit about Tony.
Yeah, Tony's an elite talent, man. I think he's an unbelievable quarterback, and he's been a great leader for us. His talents speak for themselves. I think, maybe one of the things that sets Tony apart is his ability to kind of get in the zone. The bigger the game, the better he plays. And, we go as Tony goes. He's been so good for us. Against Norton, we really put the ball in his hands, and he didn't won us the game. So we've done that all year. Now, obviously, at the beginning of the year, we didn't let him get as involved as we probably like to, but the whole goal was to have him as fresh as possible towards the end of the season. And, he's not a stat guy. He doesn't care about his own individual numbers. So I thought he's been excellent.
He's got that former offensive line unselfish mentality. We've been able to see his growth on the field this year in terms of performance, but what have you seen from Tony in terms of growth off the field, growing in terms of preparation for the game, being a leader in his career as a Cardinal?
Yeah, Tony's such a competitive and athletic-minded kid. I thought even last year the way he tried to prepare for games was very impressive. And he did that all the way back when freshman, sophomore year. So he's got that type of competitiveness to him. I think the biggest thing that's probably changed for Tony, outside of experience, he's only playing the position for 2 years now, which is a whole other thing and extremely impressive. But I think the biggest thing that changed for him was his ability to be a leader for us. Obviously, he played a big role last year, but he was a junior and he wasn't the first guy to speak up. This year it's kind of his show, man. It's his team. And, he does a great job leading by example. And then he's also, he'll speak up. He'll be our vocal leader. So, just super impressed and super proud of the job he's done.
So we'll continue our senior highlight, moving on to Gage Britt, a guy who does a lot for you in terms of being a blocker, getting involved in multiple ways in your offense. Tell me a little bit about Gage in terms of what he does for Hoisington football.
Yeah, Gage is kind of that similar role to Ian Smith. He does everything we ask him to. Defensively, he's always playing outside backer, DN. It's whatever we need that week. And Gage has never once complained. Doesn't worry about his role. It's always team first with him. And offensively, we're not using him to catch a bunch of passes by any means. But does a great job run blocking for us. And last week against Norton, we actually kept him in for protection a little bit to help with some of their D-line and did a great job. So a great senior leader for us and really proud of the job he's done.
Now, moving it up, a couple of plus 200-pounders on your senior roster here. First up, Caleb Berzer. It's a big nose guard. What can you tell me about Caleb?
Well, Berzer he is maybe one of the most overlooked athletes that maybe I've been around because he is a freak of an athlete, really. He's strong, explosive, quick, and Berzer has done such a good job for us. Started the year at left guard. Our center goes down. He moves over to center and, has played exceptionally well. I knew Berzer was potential was sky high, but, the level of play we're getting from Caleb right now has been remarkable. So, just his ability to step in, switch to a different position, and let's keep going. A lot of it is due to his play. So, he's such a good kid, and really, really happy and excited for Burrs.
Another big boy in the trenches for you. It's Caden Hoffman. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the area. He's a big road grader on the offensive line and then a physical force on the D-line. Tell me what you've seen from Caden Hoffman this year.
No, I think I can't put into words how good Hoff has been this year and everything he means to us. I wish there was some way we could redshirt him and then bring him back again next year. But no, he's been so big for us and instrumental in what we do, both offensively and defensively. I hope people understand how good Hoff really is. It at times is kind of I could see people maybe take it for granted the job he does, but he's phenomenal, man. He makes a ton of plays defensively. And that's always being doubled and triple teamed as our nose. Offensively, what we do a lot is based on him and where he's at. So, man, we're going to definitely miss Big Hoff when his time is done. But he's been phenomenal.
I can assure you that nobody in the Sports Day studio takes Caden Hoffman for granted. It's head coach of the Hoisington Cardinals, Zach Baird. Coach, turning our attention to this upcoming state champion matchup against Nemaha Central. The Thunder, they're coming off of a 2A championship last year. What has gone into this week of practice trying to knock them off here on Saturday?
Yeah, I just think, it's been mental this week, man. Trying to make sure our bodies are good and ready to compete on Saturday. But, obviously we got a big task ahead of us, and it's something our guys are excited for. They've worked to get this opportunity, and now, the way you look at it is you got nothing to lose but everything to gain. Obviously, you got defending state champs. It's going to be a nasty cold weather game. State championships on the line. I don't know what else you could put on top of this to make it look any better. So, guys have been cut in, been focused, and really had a great week of prep so far.
I think the postseason has been really perplexing for you guys. The last 3 weeks, you just keep coming up against these top-notch defenses. Against Southeast of Saline, I think they were allowing 10 points. Norton's allowing 9. Then you come up now against Nemaha Central. They're allowing something like 5. But the Hoisington Cardinal offense, it's been able to put up yards, been able to put up points in the postseason. How do you keep that offensive rhythm rolling?
Well, I think it starts with the O-line. We've played a couple of really good defenses, and the last 2 weeks we've given up 0 sacks, and that's something we need to continue to have is really good offensive line play. And then, just think, Tony's ability to make plays and how smart he is and get us in the right plays against right fronts has been key for us. It's really not about, who we play. Obviously, we're going to play good teams this time of year, and they're going to have good defenses. But, I just think our preparation has been good. It's been cut in. It's more about us, what we need to do. And our guys have executed. Now, I think the first half against Norton maybe didn't execute nearly at as high enough a level as we needed to. But, man, I thought second half we were really solid, and our execution was really good. And I thought Southeast, we executed at a high level from the very get-go.
So while Hoisington, you guys have been playing some vaunted defenses, your defense, nothing to sneeze at either, especially when a guy like Jason Robinson, believe he's got 7 interceptions in the last 5 games. With a guy like that and your defense really clicking on all cylinders, how does that play a factor in this championship game?
Yeah, Jay's been huge for us. You try to tell people that from last year. We went the majority of the year last year without having Jason. We never had him fully healthy. And he's such a good player, and he's a good player on offense too. And we sprinkle him in. We're just able. We have enough backs where we can rest him at times. But I don't know what Jay is. I think Jay's at 8 for the year as far as interceptions go. I don't know what the state lead is, but Jay's got to be up there. He's been phenomenal, and he's not just good in the pass game. He's making plays at the line of scrimmage. In the run game. Just been super impressed with Jay, and the thing that kind of probably surprises people is if you know him, he's such a quiet kid. But when it's time to go, he's competitive as all get out. So he's been huge for us.
All right, Coach, heading into the final game of the regular season, give me your final thoughts on the season to this point and headed in against Nemaha Central.
Man, it's been a great ride. I have 6 seniors, love them to death. They're a great group, and the goal was to make this thing last as long as possible, and we're to that point now. But the job's still not done. And I think our guys have been cut in. I think our seniors understand the job's not done. And just want to send these guys out the right way, and thankful we get the opportunity to do that.
All right, Coach, good luck on Saturday.
I appreciate it, man.
That is head coach of the Hoisington Cardinals, Zach Baird. He'll be taking on the Nemaha Central Thunder on Saturday from Salina Central's District Stadium outside of Salina Central. Go ahead, get on over there, support the Hoisington Cardinals, as we'll have more Sports Day coming up right after this.
From the Mayo Money Management Studios, 1590 KVGB Great Bend and 95.5 FM K238CK Hoisington.
When it comes to car maintenance, it's good to know a local guy that can get things done. The Eller family has been in the auto repair business in Great Bend forever. Greg Eller continues that long tradition of helping people. Eller Automotive Repair specializes in wheel alignments, oil changes, and general maintenance for all makes and models of cars and small trucks. Open 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4 Fridays. 915 Morton, right behind Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source, 10th and Morton.
Venture Corporation is a homegrown company with almost 50 years of experience in asphalt, paving, and construction, and they need equipment operators, mechanics, and CDL drivers. Venture offers many benefits, including 401k and Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. Call Leslie for
the number you have dialed has not been recognized.
Family-oriented company that is here today and will be here in the future. Venture Corporation is an equal opportunity employer.
To capture memories this holiday season. At Nextech Wireless, use phones to share those precious moments. For a limited time, get the new iPhone 15 or Samsung Galaxy S23 on us. Next,
everyone, look at that, yeah.
On the range.
Pretty much. Because Webby couldn't say Gerard.
He's been the voice of the Tigers for over 20 years, much longer than Wyatt Thompson, Steve Webster, and the legendary Bob Davis. And he's not even that old yet. Here's Gerard Wellbrock.
Welcome into 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM for Sports Day. Aaron Clark here with Gerard Wellbrock, voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers. Gerard, thanks for sitting down to talk to me. It's a former Hornet. I wasn't sure if you were going to agree to join the program today.
Oh, we can all be friends.
So put our past differences behind us, but I'm pretty excited to get to talk to you. It's always fun getting to see Webby, have a conversation with you, get in on some of the action from now and then, but now get to sit in the driver's seat myself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
All right, so diving right into it, we're just going to get started. You got a preference on who you want to talk about first between the men's team and the women's?
Nope, go ahead. Whatever you want to do.
Well, we'll go ahead and start with the Lady Tigers then. I believe they are 4-0 on the year, coming off of a win in Colorado.
Yes, they actually went out and played a couple of games out there. It wasn't a lot of these schools have these classics with 4 teams. It was actually Fort Hays State playing 2 games and Colorado Mesa playing 2 against 2 Denver area schools. But, yeah, good win, especially the Sunday win over Colorado Mesa. They have traditionally been an NCAA tournament team. They're in the South Central region with the Lone Star. They were a little down last year, had 2 of their better players hurt and didn't play last season. They're back, and I think they feel they've got like a 2-year window where they're going to be really, really good. And it was a high-level game. It had an NCAA tournament feel. Fort Hays State won it by 3. They were down early big at 11 in the first quarter, came back, had a comfortable lead, kind of gave it up. It had a little bit of everything, but they held on to get the win, and that was big because last season – they had a hard time winning close games. In the MIAA, you play a lot of them. If you want to have a good season, an NCAA tournament season, you got to win the close ones. And Fort Hays State did not do a good job of that. They lost a lot of one-possession games. So it was good to win a one-possession game, even though it probably shouldn't have been one. They kind of let Colorado Mesa back in. And then they played MSU Denver, formerly Metro State, on Monday. They're a young team, kind of rebuilding. They've had some good tournament history in the NCAA, but they're kind of a young team. And Fort Hays State took care of business, played pretty well. You could tell that the Tigers are playing their second game in 2 days in Colorado, and MSU Denver only played the one. In fact, they had been 8 days since they had played. They looked like they had fresher legs, but Tigers got it done, did a good job, and off to a good start. It's a good team. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. They're deep. I think they shoot it a little bit better, but I think they're still trying to figure out, got a new coach in Talia Cars, and just, work in all the personnel and figure out everybody's roles and minutes and all those things. So it's still kind of a work in progress, but off to a really good start.
Hey, Gerard, it's Mike. I'm going to step in quickly. I see where Katie Wagner, I don't know which game it was, but she had a very good game in one of the 2 games.
Well, she was really good. She had a double-double on Sunday's game, and she had a double-double in the game before that against Minnesota State. So she had back-to-back double-doubles, and she was 1 point and 1 rebound away from making it 3 straight double-doubles. She actually played, it's funny how, stats are stats. She had 9 points, 9 boards, but 6 assists, a season high in the win over MSU Denver. So didn't quite get the double-double, but and they defended her well. They didn't let her catch it a lot and get a lot of shots off, but she affects the game. She is so good. She's one of the best in the MIAA, and really fun to watch her play. And they're trying to get her easier baskets than she maybe had last year and the year before, get her some better looks and run some different things to get her open. So it's been fun to watch, and I think you're seeing the benefits of it. And you can tell she's a veteran. She's played a lot of games, and she's pretty crafty. When she gets someone younger on her, she knows how to get to work and find a way to get to the rim.
And so talking a little bit more about some of the depth that we have on the Lady Fort Hays State team, what have you seen from the bench? Is it going to be a top dominant unit, or do they got some ladies they can count on in the second group?
It's interesting. Yes and yes, and yes and no. They, for the first time, Talia played more of a platoon system just to get them more minutes, and didn't feel they played as well that way. But that sometimes isn't always fair when you don't always do that. There was a little, they got Mesa in it a little bit, or I shouldn't say Mesa, but MSU Denver on Monday back in it a little bit because of the platooning. And I don't think they're going to do that all year. So, yes, they have some talent. I think just figuring out who it's going to be on a consistent basis. And sometimes it's who's hot. Someone's shooting the ball well, playing well, and they're going to play. You come in, you're not, they'll go to the next one. Because that, to me, that's still going to be the biggest challenge on this team is not the lack of depth, but there are a lot of players, and a lot of them are, they do little things different, but they're pretty even. Figuring out who's going to be your top 8, 9. I think 10 in this case. I think it's still a work in progress for the coaching staff to figure all that out.
And so, obviously, still very early in the season, only 4 games, not even Thanksgiving yet. However, what do you think is going to be the identity? What does it seem to be the team is building around that they're going to try to hang their hat on this season?
Obviously, I think Katie Wagner is your focal point. There was a stretch in the game against Mesa on Sunday, where they came back in it 4 days ago. They were going to put it away. They had it up to 9. It was like 3 or 4 possessions, and Katie never touched the ball. And then she did, and they scored a couple baskets. I think it rolls through Katie Wagner. She's an all-conference type player. But Sydney Galladay, their guard, is really good. I think they're going to try to run a little bit, but maybe not as much as in the past. But I think they shoot it a little bit better, or will shoot it a little bit better than they have. That was a big problem last year as well, their perimeter shooting. So I think it's one of those situations. Katie's the focal point. She's going to be the focal point for defenses, but she's just so talented. I think you have to. It goes through her, and then you add. We haven't talked about Olivia Hollenbeck, their 6'3" post, who's all conference as well, and just really, really good. There's just a lot of weapons and a lot of pieces on this team. I think they're going to be very similar to what they've been in the past under Tony Hobson. Talia Carr is obviously a protege of his, but she's putting her own little spin in how they run things offensively a little bit. But I think it goes through those two, and solid guard play like they've had in years past.
Gerard Welbrock, voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers. So we're going to pivot our attention now over to the men's team. They're coming off of a tough overtime loss to that Colorado MSU Denver team. What can you tell me about the men's basketball team for Fort Hays?
I think they're kind of a work in progress. It's funny because they return a lot from last year, even the last 2 years. But yet they've got more new faces than they've had on a roster in a long time. And I think it's a work in progress. And they've been a little bit up and down, a little inconsistent. And I think that has something to do with it. I think the coaching staff is still trying to figure everybody's roles out and just, how they're going to go about it. Caleb Hammocky, obviously one of the best guards in the MIAA. And they brought in some good weapons with them, but they're still trying to work it out. MSU Denver's good. I think it's kind of like the women in that Colorado Mesa win. At the end of the year, that's going to be a big win for them. I think at the end of the year, that loss to MSU Denver will not be a bad loss. And quite honestly, I didn't think Fort Hays State played great, and they were in it and somehow forced overtime. That's one thing the last 2 years the Tigers they just find a way to be in the game late. And I think this team is showing that same characteristic, even though there's a lot of new faces. They were down 14 to the Roadrunners and not playing well, and then you look up, here they are inside of 30 seconds and had the ball with a chance to tie. They hit the tying 3 at the horn and just, didn't have enough in the tank in the overtime period to put it away or to get the win. But there's still, a lot of the new pieces is trying to figure out. And anytime you bring in transfers, it just takes a while to figure out what the coaches expect, how hard do you have to play, just all those things. And I think they've got a few guys. Some of the veterans are pressing right now. They want to be good. It matters. They work hard. And I think they almost need to relax a little bit, and will help their cause.
So some teams like to push the tempo, especially when you get up into college. They like to try to get in transition. Some teams are going to work it a little more inside out. Where do you see the Fort Hays men's basketball team going in terms with their offense this year?
Well, it all starts with the defense. Fort Hays State's usually near the bottom of scoring in the MIAA, and it's not that they slow the pace down. Most opponents, unless they're just coming down and jacking shots, they get shots late in the shot clock. 4 days and with a lot of comparison to last year, and Mark Johnson's even said you can't compare defense this year to last year because he said that may have been the best defensive team I've ever coached. So it's an unfair comparison. But so far through this year, these guys can defend pretty well, and they get after it. And they make teams you don't get quick shots off. And so usually the shot clock is inside of 10 to 5 seconds when the shot goes off. So there's less possession. So Fort Hays State has lower scoring games, and it's not because they're slowing the tempo down. Teams just use more time to score. And I also think because Fort Hays State puts so much effort on the defensive end, it affects their offense a little bit. I think yesterday they played Central Christian, and they kind of struggled shooting the ball. And Mark even said, we were getting stop after stop after stop. We're trying to push the tempo because I think we were tired on offense. And we didn't. It affected it a little bit. So they got to figure that out a little bit. But it all predicates on defense. Mark Johnson's a defensive first coach. He's always been that way, and they're gonna play off of that. But offensively, they've got to figure out their inside game. They're not overly big, and I think they're still trying to figure out their roles and how they're going to go about Deonte Jansson, a returner, super senior, and the other two guys they brought in, and how they work them on the inside game. And that's been a work in progress. I think it will be for a while.
So, Gerard, do you know what the Fort Hays State basketball team's plans are over Thanksgiving or once they are back after the turkey break?
Well, those who can go home, and there's a few, they've got quite a few from the region are going home, and I know Coach always has some over if they can't. I mean, you have a player from Iceland, so generally he doesn't go home he'll go home for Christmas and then in the off season, but they'll be here, so they'll have some of them over, and then they played yesterday. They got today off. They'll get tomorrow off. They'll come back and practice Monday. They've got a game or practice on Friday. They play Saturday. The men and women play Saturday. Now, the women got an extra day off because of the Monday game. They all kind of went home from Denver, and they'll reassemble on tomorrow or Friday morning and get a couple practice or get a practice in, a little shoot around, and crank it back up on Saturday with a doubleheader. And it's conference play next week. Hard to believe. A week from tomorrow, they open MIAA play, so it gets here quick. So they get a little bit of break, but they're going to be right back at it and get that final tune-up in on Saturday.
That is Gerard Wellbrock, voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers. Gerard, thanks so much for joining me today. Excited to see what they do on that Saturday game, and I expect you'll be back next week.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Glad to be on, and you guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, you too, buddy. We'll have more Sports Day coming up on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM right after this.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Zach Strite, commercial lender for Equity Bank.
Thanks, guys.
As someone who lives here, I know many of you, and I know what's important to you.
You too. Bye.
I've been in the industry a long time, and I've helped many navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people. I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you our commitment to serving you and our communities. At Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
Get started with a career in healthcare through Barton Community College's Pharmacy Technician program. Gain the skills you need to assist pharmacists with the day-to-day demands of a pharmacy. Classes are 100% online and include real-world experiences at a pharmacy near you. Join this essential field in as little as 2 semesters with the flexibility of online classes. Now enrolling. Learn more at pharmtech.bartonccc.edu.
If you need physical therapy, consider Advanced Therapy in Great Bend and Progressive Therapy in Larned and Hayes.
I had a young gal come in the other day who has been having chronic back pain. Did a session just helping her to understand her pain, not understanding her back, but teaching her how her nervous system works. And just that knowledge just calmed her down so much. She came back in this morning, huge smile on her face, and she was so excited to learn more. It was a blast.
Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
Welcome back into 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM for the Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving edition of Sports Day. We got Corson back in studio. We got Mike Hesher. He's been here, but he's going to be involved in this segment just as much as he wants to be. But, Corson, you and me are going to be talking about some Thanksgiving football. You know, the day before Thanksgiving, we've got some fun little bits about Barry Sanders from your end. I'll be giving some insights about the matchups tomorrow going on, and going to be a good time. But first, would like to remind the people that Sports Day is brought to you in part by Barton. Get ahead with online or dual credit classes at Barton Community College or earn a certificate or associate degree while in high school. Learn more at gobarton.com. So, Corson, you were jonesing to get Sports Day today. I've never really seen you this go like, nah, I've got stuff for Sports Day. Let's go. So I'm excited to get to this segment.
Well, I watched some TV last night, but I got to get this off my chest real quick. So while you were chatting with the other guys, kept coming in and out of the studio, onions, when Webby walks in Friday morning, it will dissipate it just enough. It's going to be glorious body odor smell, and Webby will think, who was it?
So I might use some spray then. Thank you.
One way or another, I know this. We're blaming Mike Kesher.
Yeah,
that is whatever Webby thinks happened.
The most uncomfortable way. Let's blame that.
Exactly. Whatever. So
you guys have been heshed as always.
It's just we can call you stir fry for more than just stirring it up. You're making some oniony smell like stir fry in here too. But
all right,
Court, I'm legitimately excited to see what you have about Barry Sanders, one of the most electric runners of all time in the NFL. Too short of a career for the Detroit Lions. What can you tell me about the former Wichita product?
So kind of cool, and there's some relevancy here because Great Bend just played Capon, and Omari Elias just broke the City League record. Barry Sanders had a chance to do it back when he was in high school. Kind of the first time where he said, not too worried about it, put in the younger guys. But so Amazon Prime has a new documentary called Bye Bye Barry, almost like a double entendre. Is that him running away, or is it him ending his career without faxing the Detroit Lions that he was out? But just by the numbers here, he played 10 seasons Detroit, mostly a loser team, and maybe that played a little into the frustration. Towards the end, Joe Montana wanted to come over from the 49ers and play in Detroit. Management says too old. Joe goes to Kansas City. Could have saved him for another 2 years. So he plays 10 seasons, 3,062 carries, 15,269 yards. I think that was second all-time at the time behind Walter Payton. So Walter Payton had 38 for 1,500 more yards. So Barry was just coming off a 2,000-yard season. You're talking probably one season away from becoming the all-time leader.
There's reason to believe that Barry Sanders was still at his peak. In year 9, it's crazy to think, especially in today with how short the running back lifespan has become. It's wild to think that a running back could still be in their prime heading into year 10. But Barry Sanders, man, I've watched film on him. If someone was, it was him.
And so jumping forward, Emmitt Smith overtook the leads. But Emmitt Smith, about 15 seasons, 4,400 carries for 18,300 yards. So once again, you're talking probably 2 seasons out of Barry, not even his best seasons, and he's the all-time leading rusher. Chose to give that up because maybe he lost love, maybe he didn't, but probably playing in Detroit didn't help.
That's what it's always kind of seemed like. The Detroit management just kind of floundered on him, didn't really make the opportunities. Like you were referencing, Joe Montana kind of wanted to go to Detroit. Detroit management said no. Would have been arguably, I can't really think of any of the quarterbacks Barry Sanders was playing with too much in Detroit off the top of my head. None that stick out nearly as much as Joe Montana anyway.
And I actually got one right. We were just looking at quarterback lists. I was like, was Rodney Peete that old? He was, and I got that one. But some of the other ones I didn't recognize. Going to the City League because Omari Elias just broke the record. Any idea who had the previous record for the Wichita City League? Bryce Brown, Wichita East.
What year was that?
Not too long ago, because probably in the last 8 years or so.
I was going to say it's a familiar
and I think he's with
name.
The Bills right now, but I don't think he's playing running back.
A lot of times high school running back is just one of the best athletes that you have on the field. It's kind of, that's almost shifting towards quarterback now in the more recent high school game, but a lot of times you get your running back best athlete on the field, so when they get to a college program, you just get a bunch of good athletes. They're not all going to play running back, so a lot of times those running back spots kind of diversify once they arrive on campus.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, Barry at Wichita North, so if you watch the documentary, they talked to Wichita North's coach. He's actually spotted up at the press box at, I believe, Lewis Field at Fort Hays. And then at the end, you were up at the Shrine Bowl this year. Barry was the Grand Marshal. I almost went just because Barry Sanders was there. You didn't get to talk to him, or you did?
I did not. I'll be honest. So I got into the press box at the Shrine Bowl. I had my little Eagle pass. And I knew Barry Sanders was in the luxury suites a floor up. And so I was
Pushed the
riding
wrong
that
button.
No, well, I nearly did that, but I didn't want to have security or something up there be like, hey, what are you doing here? And then be wearing like an Eagle Radio media pass, that looked bad for the company. But I did ride that elevator a couple of extra times, just kind of hoping like, oh, maybe one of the greatest running backs of all time will just step onto the elevator.
So you can talk about people who are instrumental in your childhood, and that's why a lot of us have favorite teams. I was a big Oakland A's fan, big 49ers fan, Duke fan for a year. Barry Sanders was kind of that staple. We, growing up, knew he was a Wichita kid. Man, I'd been to Wichita. Hard to come by Detroit Lions stuff out here, but I remember having a Detroit Lions mug. But I will tell you, at my age, I will still go through Walmart or through crowds, and I will Barry Sanders it. You get in my way, I'll stop on a dime, juke, spin, dive, whatever it takes to get around you. And what's remarkable to me is he had that style. Why has no one been able to duplicate that 20 years later?
It's a special athlete is part of it. The start-stop ability is something that you've seen mimicked. A guy who stands out to me a little bit is Le'Veon Bell, but he always did it a little bit differently than Barry Sanders. He had a lot of patience behind the line. Something that separates Barry, it feels like, was his ability to start-stop against cornerbacks, against defensive backs, guys who should be able to athletically keep up with him. He's not starting on a dime around the linebackers and defensive linemen. He's able to make terrific athletes, guys who are running sub 4.5 40s, look like average Joe Schmoes.
And that's why I like Giddens at K-State so much. It's been a while since I've seen a guy stop and start like that. I think Giddens is the guy with patience and a little bit of start-stop. And then the other thing to me, if you watch the documentary, of course, this is back in I think he got drafted in 89. So you're talking about mainly the 90s, big old shoulder pads. When you watch the replays, especially slow-mo, you see like the thigh pads. It looks crazy. Could he have been even better if he was wearing this tight stuff they had today?
That's one that we can make the case for all of the. I think running back is a particularly effective one because just as keeping athletes healthy has gotten better, the protection's gotten better. Those positions that take a lot of wear and tear, absolutely. But to your credit, your point, Barry Sanders, what he could have been if he didn't have to play on some of those rough AstroTurf fields. If he was in a modern league where maybe they were using him a little more in the passing game, I don't know quite what he had in terms of hands, but happy to sit down and get to talk some Barry Sanders with you. It's a very little cross-section for us.
Yeah, so one more just because some people are turned off by the hype of the NFL celebration. This was a guy that always handed the ball to the official throughout his career.
One of my favorite things about him, he wasn't his job to celebrate. I believe he has a quote, wasn't his job to celebrate. It was the fans' job to celebrate, his job to score the ball. He did that, handed the ball to the official. That way he can do his job. Well, that is going to wrap up our show. No sports day tomorrow, as we hope everyone is having a happy Thanksgiving. I can speak at least for one sports day host. I'll be watching all three of those NFL games. Excited to kick it off with the Lions and Packers at 11:30 a.m. before the Commanders and Cowboys come in second, and then a battle in the NFC West as the 49ers and Seahawks, they'll meet in the evening game. A lot going on tomorrow. Have a great time. We will be back here on Friday, the normal crew, and that does include Steve Webster, will be in for Sports Day only here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. See you later. Join us Monday. It's Sports Day.
Happy Thanksgiving.